Hi, in this video we're going to take a look at how to view data in a database. Recall that all data that is stored inside a database is stored inside these things called tables. So all data is stored in tables. So we need to find a way to query these tables. That is where the select command comes in. So let's get started. So let's go into our Apex Oracle website, and we can just click the sign in, and we can just go ahead and log into here with the credential that you created, and we can go ahead and click sign in. So here we are in our console. So let's go ahead and click the SQL workshop and go to SQL commands. And here we can type in some SQL to query the data. The SQL language is not case sensitive. I can have the select in a lower case like this one, or I can have the select in uppercase. And this one should work as well. So let me select a particular select statement so we can see what will get returned. So let's select from the EMP table, and you need a semicolon at the end of our statement. This is not necessary all the time, but it will make your life a lot more easier. But we're going to talk about more detailed of why we are doing it later on. But I will select this entire statement, and I will go ahead and click the run button, and notice down here in the grid we get the data that is residing in this particular table. So let's deconstruct this SQL statement to understand what's going on. First of all, this entire thing, all of this command together, is considered a statement, a SQL statement, and it's made out of keywords. And the first keyword here is the select keyword. This is a reserved keyword in the SQL language. So if someone asks you to retrieve data from a table, you have to use this select keyword. We can't use it with without any other details. So if we get rid of all of this on the right side and just have the select statement, and I hit run, as we can see, this is not a valid SQL statement. So what it's saying here is a missing expression. As a matter of fact, it's missing a lot of expression. So a select statement require a minimum a particular column, some column. The next command that this needs is the from keyword. Now we have the select keyword, and we give it a particular column or multiple columns, as we can see in a second, and we need the from. So the question we should ask is, where do we get the data from? So that's going to be the tables. In our example, we have the emp table. So let's put a table here as an example. So give this select keyword a column that are needed to be queried, and then the from keyword gets the particular table, or as we can see later on the course, we can actually select from multiple tables. So at the minimum, this is all that is required. So for example, if I want to select the job column, let's write down job from a particular table. So let's say the emp table. We can go ahead and select that, semicolon on the end, and click run. So notice this is a perfectly valid SQL statement. So the job column was the only column that was retrieved. The job column was the only column that was retrieved. This is actually a particular kind of SQL statement. To be more specific, this is actually referred to as a query. We are actually asking the database for some information. We're not changing the data, we are not adding data, we're not modifying the database, we are just asking the database, hey, give us this information that we are looking for. That is essentially what a query is. So the select keyword here is the main thing that makes this SQL statement into a query. So this is some jargon just to keep in mind. So I can also select the other columns, not just one. So instead of job, we can also have ename. So we can go ahead and select all and run. So as long as ename is in this table, it's going to execute and give us the data. So let's say if you want to see all the columns in the table and you don't want to specify each column in this list, that could be pretty tedious. For that, there's a small little shortcut that we can take. So this basically means give me everything that you got. It's a wild card. So it will actually return all the columns. So if you select that and click run, this will actually give us all the columns in the result set. And this is actually pretty handy when you want to do a quick analysis, that kind of data that a particular table contains. And now we have a quick snapshot on all of the columns in the table and see what this is all about in an overview. And here we can see what kind of columns there is, what kind of data these columns contains. So this is a really handy thing to keep in mind. So let's get back to ename and jobs. So since this is the only statement in this window, I don't really need to select everything and click run. We can just have it unselected and hit run, and it will know that this is the only thing that it needs to get executed. So I keep reminding that the SQL language is not case sensitive. In other words, we can just put job as lowercase and ename as lowercase, and emp table as well. And the select statement we can do like this one. So as long as the spelling are correct, this will be a perfectly valid SQL statement. So let's go ahead and click run, and notice that it is executing as expected in the order that we have specified. job, and ename. Now typically statements like these are separated into 2 lines. It is just easier to read. We have the select and the columns that we want selected from the table, and we have the from statement on the next line, and the table we want to select from. We can actually have multiple statements. We can do select job from EMP, and just select this and click run. Notice that it only executed this statement, and it only returned jobs from the emp table. So we have actually 2 statements here in this window. So we have the select statement over here where we have the job column and the ename column from the emp table, and we have this statement over here where we only selected job column from the emp table. So both of these are individual SQL statement separated by this semicolon over here. The one that really separates one statement from another is this semicolon. And again, I can have this from on the second line. I can have spaces here, and we can make this lowercase as well as capital. So when I run this, I'm selecting this particular statement, and I'm not selecting the whole thing. And when I click run, it will only return the results for this statement. If I select both of these on the same time and hit run, it will give us the command not properly ended. It doesn't know what to do with this. It's basically asking, do it want us to retrieve the job or ename, or do you just want me to return the job? So if we give both of these commands, it will not know what to do with that. We actually need to specify the single command at a time, a command that ends with a semicolon. Now it's time to test what you learned. I can give you a quick assignment. You can try this one on your own, and the assignment is, I want you to query the department table. So write down the select statement to get data from the department table, and I only want to see the department name and the department location columns. So I don't want to see the whole table. I only want to see those columns. So go ahead and try that on your own. Create that SQL statement, run it, test it, and you can resume to watch my solution. Alright, hopefully you took your time to work on that one. So let's treat this as a real world problem. So your boss is asking you to get this data. What you can do is first try to figure out where this department table is and what it's called really. We can say department, but the department table can be named anything else. So let's go ahead and go to SQL Workshop and go to Object Browser. And we can browse all the table in this particular database to see something that matches department. And it turns out that there's a table called depth over here. This will be pretty close to something that's called department. So let's query this data to see what the data contains. So let's go ahead and go back to SQL commands. So we can just go ahead and query and do a simple select statement. So we can select everything in this star from DEPT, and we can highlight the whole thing and click run. And we should get the entire table. And the problem was that we only need to retrieve the name and location. So what we actually need to do here is get rid of the star and give the column dname and location. So dname as the first column and LOC as the second column. So we can go ahead and select that and click run, and we should only be seeing these two columns. Let's look at some other things that I did to the select statement. So let's select from the employees from the M table to see some of the data here. Click run, and of course we can see all of the columns in the M table. Now as the default here, it only shows us 10 rows. We can actually change this to 15, 20 or 30, but let's click on 20, and that will return in the output. Click run, and this will return 14 rows. That's actually the total number of rows in this particular table. But I just want you to keep in mind that just because the rows is returned 10, that this query over here is not capable of returning the entire result set, which is 14 records. 14 records. The only thing that is limiting the number of rows being shown here is this drop down, which we can change. So this is sort of a visual aesthetic that the application provides, so that we are not getting overwhelmed with too many records, so that we can quickly see the data in an easy fashion. That's why it is limiting us to 10 rows. Now let's go ahead and just select the job column, and we just take in one aspect of this select statement. So I'm selecting job from EMP and go ahead and run, and this will only return the data in the job column. And if we click over here to 15, it will return us all the 14 rows in the table. So notice that we have some duplicates over here, and managers been repeated a couple of times, and we can see the analyst and salesman and clerks. And the reason for this is because, well, we have different people, different employees. Click around over here, and they have different job titles. You see that Blake is also a manager, Clark is also a manager, and Jones is also a manager. And Allen, Ward, Martin, and Turner, all of these are salesmen. And we have multiple clerks. So let's say that we only want to see the distinct, the unique jobs in our company. I can just go over here and type in distinct. So this is a special keyword in SQL, the distinct keyword. After typing in distinct, we can type in job, and this will only give me the unique values in the job column. So let's go ahead and click run. First of all, it's going only to be returning one column, because I'm specifically stating job, and I'm also specifically asking for distinct. Select distinct job, and it's going to return me the different jobs that are in our company. So the very important thing to keep in mind is that it didn't return all the 14 rows. It only returning 5 rows, because we are just asking for the distinct job. If I go ahead and get rid of this distinct and hit run, and of course it's going to be returning every single records in the table. We're not giving it specific filtering. If we go ahead and add the distinct to this, it will just return us 5 records, each of the unique job that we have in the company. So that was everything for today. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.